Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me in my Zoom class. We are painting the harbor, some sailboats in the fog today. This is an oil painting that started this little series. So I painted this in plein air. It looks like to me, now that I'm looking at it, that the horizon line is going down. That's actually the breakwater, but I can see it does lean. I think if I probably should go and fix that, which is easy enough. So this is basically an all whitish gray painting with a focal point right in here. This big gray boat was really standing out, and at the aft of it was a little red boat. So that's what I was trying to capture, and I just put some masks up and a few little lines with my palette knife. And then I put some white spots going this way. So that's what started it. And so I'm gonna move this out of the way, since this is, the problem with oil paintings is that they are very messy. They take forever to dry. And then I did it for Inktober just on a card. And I stopped here so that you could kind of go in and around the harbor. And I did put the little boats behind the breakwater. And here's the photo that I sent you. So what I've done so far is gotten my non-water soluble graphite, and I sketched the breakwater, but I stopped it. I didn't go all the way, because it really, all the way across is really how it looks, but it doesn't make that great of a painting. And I didn't put the little boats in behind, because one thing is, once we get it done, what I found on this one was that I put the little boats in first, and then I put the masts in, and then the little boats weren't in the right spot. So it's easier to put them in later. And I went around the big gray ship, and I just outlined the top, really, and that little pylon. So that's my sketch that I did. And what I'd like to do, since it's a little trickier to do in watercolor than oil paints, is to put, I don't know if you can see it, but there were little sparkles on the water right in here. So I want to put those in. And I'm going to do that with PBO and a credit card. So just a drop or two PBO. Oops, locked it on my photo. Could just use that drop right there. I'm going to start at the bottom and see how thick it is. Yeah, I like that. So I'm making just little horizontal lines here. And I want the bigger, thicker ones to be in the front. And then as I get farther back in the painting, I want littler ones. It's not really working with the credit card. These are kind of all the same. That's thicker. Those are thicker. Well, this isn't working that great. But I think I'll leave it anyway, except maybe that one. Now I just need to dry that. Just a little bit, that PBO, so that it's dry when I start. Hi, Rosalind. Nice
Hello,
of you to
Mary
join
Kay.
us.
What?
Nice of you to join us.
Oh, it's good to be here.
Yeah, I want to pull this one up. It's just too thick. All right. So I'm going to start with light gray. And light gray is French ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. And I'm making it a bluish gray. Oh, I didn't wet my paper. Let's start that over. All right, this is going to be wet into wet. And this is why I use non-soluble tracing. Regular graphite would work. The way that we used to do it back in the old days, Char was reminding me, was that we used to get a pencil and rub it all on the back like this, and then put it down and trace over it, and it would transfer and not lift up when you got it wet. Okay, that's wet now. That's good. Alrighty. I have the watermark that says arches and aquarelle up in this corner. That wasn't my best move, but that's okay too. So I'm just putting light gray just all across, down in the water. Now I need to decide where to sign it. I'm going to put, before I sign it, I'm going to put just another streak, which is the outer harbor. So this, right in here, is the inner harbor. And then back just a bit is the outer harbor. Or maybe it kind of looks like the horizon line. Ah, see now, look at there, I broke a rule. That ended up being right in the center of the photo. But a darker line will be below it, so hopefully it'll work out for me. And I didn't make it go all the way to the edge here. I have a little line going, a little opening. So I didn't go all the way across. Now I have to decide where I want to sign it. Do I want to sign it through the sparkles or underneath over here? Doesn't really matter that much. I think I'm going to go over here because I don't want to mess up the sparkles. So I sign it with my bamboo. like I press hard into the paper, and then if I go over it a little bit more, my name will really show up. Okay, there we go. That part is good. Right through here is the inner breakwater. I'm going to go ahead and try to put it in now while the paper's still damp and see how much it blurs. So it's going to be the same gray, except this time I'm going to have it be on the more of a little bit of a brown shade rather than the blue shade of gray. I'm going to see what it does over here. It might just blend and be just right. Just darkening the bottom of that. I do like how it kind of blurred. And then again, it's just softening out. I can even soften with my finger. Okay, breakwater. That's good. I'm going to mute it and dry it. So I dried this with a blow dryer. And now I'm going to just start putting in these boats. It's very hard to see any color in the photograph. I think by the time I was packing up and taking a photograph of it, I almost always paint first and then sort of take a photograph of the area when I'm leaving. You can't see the colors, but this had green in it, and this one right here was sort of red. So I'm just going to sort of fill these in. Of course, it's mostly gray, a little darker than anything we've had so far, so just a little more pigment. I'm going to go on the blue-gray side, or some of its brown side of gray. So I think you know what I mean by that. So when I'm mixing French ultramarine blue and burnt sienna to make gray, if I have more burnt sienna, it's gray, but it's on the brown side of gray. And if I have more blue, it's gray, but it's on the blue side. So in the middle then, so I can vary the grays. I think I'm just filling in these shapes. One shape that I really want is this one. That's kind of that's the pillar at the end of the pier. So I'll put that in. I think I was going to move it over. There's a boat I didn't draw right here, so I'm just going to fake it. And I'm not trying to draw every boat. I'm just trying to fill in grays and basic shapes, because I really don't know enough about boats to know all the parts of them. And there's some white shapes, those are the hulls. So I'll just gonna leave some whites. And I don't even have to say every piece. I mean, it doesn't have to be very exact. I'm gonna let my eye fill in, my brain fill in most of this. So now this guy, this big guy here, I'm gonna work on him now. That day, this boat was definitely the darkest thing out there. So I've got more pigment. This is a pretty dry brush right now. And then it's sort of, you cannot tell from the photograph what's going on here. I can't even tell if this is like that, it's a houseboat or if it's a, I just don't know. So I'm just painting in little shapes. But one thing I'm gonna do is make this little boat right here that's next to that big dark one red. So the way that I'm gonna mix the red is a little tiny bit of cans of yellow, but that's kind of dirty, so I'm gonna clean my brush and try that again. Here's clean. And just a tiny bit of permanent rose. So that makes orange, and if I add more pink to it, it makes a red. And that's a good red for this little boat here. It's dry. It's just a little, I don't know what those are called. Skiff, what is it? Okay, there it is. While it's still kind of wet, I can just kind of take my brush and just paint a little few streaks of that color into the reflection. But I cannot, this is why I had to get your rulers. Can't go out farther than the color above it. That's the reflection. It can come down farther because the light will streak down, but it doesn't go out wider unless it's just a little swiggle. Okay, I'm gonna keep going over here with my back to my grays. Trying to look at my photograph. That's a little bluer gray, I like it. Change up the colors a little bit. Up here. I'm gonna dilute this and tap my brush so I'm getting lighter colors out here, and then I'm just making really horizontal brush strokes that are following this mess of shapes. So that's one layer. One thing I'm noticing is that this side of the ship is that nice dark brownish gray, and this side is light bluish gray. So I think I need to get this color over here. So I'll make a little bit darker brownish gray. Try and get the color that I had here and add it into some spots here. And there's like a roof there. Yeah, you can see that that's making already just those couple strokes makes it look so that we know this ship is in front and not sideways or something weird's going on. I'm going to put some darks down here. Yeah, that helped, just that. Now I can go and change the color because it's on both sides. And I'm not trying to get these shapes in perfectly. It's just suggesting that this is a harbor. I just lightened it right next to that hull there because that's a nice angle. I can go in, when this is dry, I can put in some windows. That was a good catch. I think I'm going to dry it. So I just dried it. And now what I want to do is start putting up all those masks. And I like the photograph because they're mostly straight, but there's a few crooked spots. So what I'm going to try to do is line up those lines that I put in and use my rigger brush. I forgot to put that on the list of materials today, but here we go. Same two colors. It's a gray day. Today's beautiful though. And I'm just gonna, so I've got it so I can see the line, and I'm just gonna see how that turned out. Oh, it's nice and straight. If anything, too straight, too nice. If you want to do that, that's better. I like it when it got a little bit muffy. And if I want to put in some rigging lines, those, I just put those in. Same thing. That was kind of thick. Be better if the rigging lines were a little skinnier. Whoops. So what happened was I had painted on my ruler, and then I put my ruler on while it was painted on, and it did that. So with these colors, very easy to lift. There's a little white spot there, but I think it'll disappear. So I need to remember to clean my ruler. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and put these masks in. And remember to clean my ruler off. This one has some little, it's like, I don't know. I think these things are something to do with navigation. Or maybe they're lights. A little crooked, it's okay. Change of color, some darker, some lighter. That one made 3 dots. Well, once we get these in, now we need to get our reflections and our boats in the back. So I line it up just so I'm right next to the mark that I traced. And then I just use my tip of my rigger . And I have, all of a sudden it turns into sailboats, just like that. I can put in a few crosses because I do see that one of these, this one, what is that one? As a cross. I can't tell what it is. Which one it is? This one. I can put some more rigging up as much as I want to. Just probably less than half of what I actually see. And if there's rigging on one side, I don't have to put it on the other side because sometimes you'll see one, but you just don't catch the other one. So I don't worry about that too much. I do see some rigging coming from this thing. Both sides. Now we know it's a harbor. I don't like these two lines ending at the same spot. I don't know that I can fix that now, but I don't like it. I wish I had gone longer with the back one. So one other part are these little boats right in here, which are behind the inner breakwater. And I like them back there. And they're not as stark as these ones in front. So I'm just going to put them, just going to hand paint them in. I think I will use my ruler though to get the mass. I think they're not perfectly. So the mass are, the whole thing, these boats are all paler than everything in front. This one's almost like it's two. And while I'm thinking about it, I am going to try to fix this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wet it. And I'm just going to try to make it go out. Yeah, I kind of got it. Now I'm going to go back to those soft boats. So these are very soft in here. And we have to be careful that we don't put them all an inch apart. This one even has the sail. The masts are not as high. None of the ones from the back go as high. So there's two. I like it if this one has one overlapping it. Maybe one more, that's three. Oh, maybe that's enough. I feel like maybe I need one in here. Something over here. Something there, it's like a soft thing. Maybe one more. There, that gives it that feeling of atmospheric perspective where, because they're softer and smaller, farther back, we know that they're farther back, and that's how it tells us that. The last thing I need to do is two things. One is to pull up my PBO, that's easy. So I have my sparkles. They didn't really show up because I didn't put much paint over them. You could always add white paint. And then the other part is to get some reflections. So what I'm going to do to get the reflections is re-wet the water with a clean brush and clean water. I put that red one in there already because I had the paint, it was easy. But now painting the water over it, the clear water, it sort of softened it, so I like that look. So now I'm just going to take the gray I just thought of one more step we can do too, which I said earlier, which is we can put some windows in. But let's get these, I'm gonna get these reflections in first. So the thing about the reflections is they have to be exactly beneath the thing they're reflecting. So underneath that pile there, I can, and it's wet, so it's blurring. I painted it crooked. Even doing all that, I still painted it crooked. I'll try again. Okay. It's got to be right below it. And if I put it into the wet water, it'll blur. That's better. So now this is, oh, it needs to be the same. I think it should be the same color. I need a little more brown in that. So it's nice and blurry. This dark ship has a darker shadow or a darker reflection. Reflections are more medium tone in the water than the object. And what I mean by that is if you have something that's black, it's going to be a slight gray shade. If something's perfectly white, it's going to be a tiny bit on the gray shade in the reflection. So the reflection's always an easier, not an easier, a less dark or bright. It's always grayed to the middle of the value system. Again, this part here has to be right under, going the right angle. That's not quite dark enough. I can go back in when this starts to, I like that I can go back in when it's drying a little bit. I can gray this reflection a little bit too. It's pretty orange. And in here, over here. So they're going to be blurry. And then at the edge, I make little lines and it kind of catches the ripples. Now this is all ships in here, boats, not water. So I don't want that to be reflecting. I don't really see any reflections except maybe on this one in the far back ones. And then the mass coming down. Well, one thing I really like is that this ship, the big dark one, has these dark reflections, which aren't quite dark enough, but I'll give them another layer. And then it kind of skips. You can see that it's a lightness. I think I'm going to skip clear down here and put a few more reflections. Oh, now my paint's drying. Down here where I darkened it. And I really soften that. I'm going to paint with water. Now, would we see the orange there? No, I don't think so. Okay, I don't want that to keep going. I just want it to be right there. I've got orange on this paper towel, so I need to be careful. It kind of all went away. Okay, and now I want to put in some masks, reflections of these masks. Giveaways.
Every time.
My paper's drying, so that's a pretty thick mask, so I feel like it needs a reflection. It's pointing slightly to the left. at least compared to this guy. So I have to make it lean a little bit. Just the same angle. So and then I'm going to smudge it with my finger. I didn't quite get that perfectly, but I'm going to not worry about it. Then there's some big ones over here. So I want these to show. They get very blurry. The masks are getting very blurry in the water. So I want to smudge. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more and call it good. Oh. Smudge it with my finger. Over here, there's some. I want a few more of these. Just I'm overdoing it. I'm thinking too much. I think I'll stop with the reflections of the masts. I can probably put more in, but I need to slow down and think about it. What I want to do right now is make a little bit more dark paint and put in some windows. I don't want them to be black windows because it's just gray, it's not black, but they're in there. So if I look at this carefully, I can see there's some windows in this thing, and I'm not making them so perfect because none of this is perfect. So I don't want to all of a sudden have these windows that are perfect, but there's two right here. And there's kind of a roof here. Over here, there's some windows. This thing has got, I don't know what that is. That is, I don't know. Just some little horizontal rectangles or squares of some darks. Where it's likely there are some windows. That gives it just a little bit more detail. And what else? Can't really see it in the photograph, but you can see the shapes of those blue bags that they put over the sails when they're all rolled up. I don't want to make it bright blue and be the brightest thing on the painting, but I do want to, I could see them on Monday. So I'm just making a very gray blue and putting in at least that one. And I think there were some blues over here too, and I don't really know where they were. So I think I just stop with that one. And I'm going to call it. And for now, at least I look at it later and I think, oh, I have to have something else. Laura, you're sitting with a perfect heart. Underneath your chin, your hands were making a heart. That's nice. So I can tell that Rosalind and Laura are going to paint later. and not be rushed. Yeah.
I don't care. I mean, let's see, I gotta pin me again so I can see it. Oh, shoot. Okay, here we go.
There's Doris's. I like her nice dark boat that is the center, and I like the angle of the crossbar and both the breakwaters, and there's a little pathway in there and nice reflections. Really nice.
That it's really soft.
Yeah.
Good.
Chris? Anybody?
I'll show you mine, but it's not so good.
Okay. I always like it when you guys say that first. Then I'm usually thinking, oh, it's going to be good. Oh, yeah, look at that. So we really can tell the shapes of those boats, especially that one with the cabin and the 2 windows. And I like the red one. Your eye goes there, and then it goes to the cabin. So you definitely capture a harbor with the masts and the background. And yeah, it's not as busy a harbor, but
Kind of ethereal.
yeah, definitely capture the feel.
Thank you.
I have one, but I'm not, it's a card and it's not great, but it's an attempt.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it looks good.
Oh yeah, looks good.
That's nice.
So there's more sunshine on your boats. I like that the fog goes back, but you've got nice dark whites and dark light lights and dark darks on those boats in the front.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you definitely capture it.
Okay, thank you. To put it away for 3 days, then I'll look at it again.
It seems like we all have that feeling like, oh, this didn't really go that well. You know, it's like each of us say, well, it's not that good.
Not that good.
I should have done this. I should have done that. Oh, boy. Here's Penny.
Oh, Penny, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Not so much.
yeah,
I
beautiful.
like it.
Yeah, it's soft, it's foggy. Did you put a little bit of Antwerp in it? You
You know
gotta,
what I did on the sea? I just wanted a little bit of color because I used a candle to put my sparkles.
yeah,
It didn't show up with that gray, so I put a little green, and it shows up in person a little bit.
mhm. Very, very good way to do that. Plus there is, yeah, no, it's good color. Yep, I like your focal points. Because I'm saying that because you've got your red boat, but then you have the dark boat. So your eye goes to those spots. No, it's very good. And
And it's sad that this boat is more in focus, but it's almost out of the picture. I mean,
it's
focal,
still,
maybe
good because the red boat brings your eye back.
is it okay to have the focal point in that far corner?
Yeah, yeah, especially in something small like that. No, it's good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Vicki and Chris, you want to show? You don't have to.
I didn't.
Oh, go ahead, Vicki.
I didn't do a really good.
Okay, hold it up a little farther. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you definitely have the boats in the harbor. I think the one thing you can do is with your red boat is the reflection makes a triangle. So if you lift the 2 bottom colors up and extend the top reflection out a little bit, it'll feel more like the reflection of the boat. Does that make sense? You need to lift. I would lift. You have 3 lines of reflection under your red boat.
Yeah.
I'd lift out the bottom 2 and make the top one longer. And then it'll just be one reflection about the same length as the boat.
Oh.
And then
Okay.
our eye will go there and know that that's a red boat and its reflection. And then you'll have it
Okay.
nailed. All right, Chris, if you're brave enough.
Well, this is all I have, just gray.
Okay, good start. I like it.
It took too long for it to dry. Everything was kind of blooming all over the place. So I have my gray. I'll finish it and show it later.
And you can take all the time you want making every one of those little boats.
Yeah.
Very
Perfect.
good. Any others? Vicki, do you want to show us again?
I haven't finished.
Okay. I'm going to say goodbye to YouTube. Thanks, YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.